Hello.
Hello. Hello, Brad. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Glenn, I take it.
Yes, Chris.
That's right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Brad, can you hear me?
Uh,
I don't think Brad's hearing me.
There we go. Now I can hear you guys.
Excellent. Brad.
I need to put a board over my soundboard because my cat likes to step on buttons. So, such is life. Well, it's nice to meet you, Chris.
And likewise.
And Chris, I'm not sure if you and Glenn already spoke while I was screwing around with my board, but this is Glenn Bittner.
Yep.
We did. We managed to say hello.
Okay, good. And Chris, how do you pronounce your last name properly?
Tregenza.
Okay, that was my guess, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, it's one of his odd names. It is actually said exactly how it's spelled and how it's obvious, but you will be amazed at the number of ways I hear it.
I can only imagine. Okay, I did send you the link to the show notes, so you can. And it looks like you've jumped in.
Yep, I've just opened them.
Okay, good. And yeah, this is very much a roundtable, low-key discussion. We start with Glenn doing a game review, and then we do a news story, and we do a brief pause. In post, we add we have another person that does video game news for our network, and we put his report in post. So we do just a brief pause, and then I put that in post. But that's just a marker for me later on. Then we just quickly recap last week's Kickstarter, and then we will talk about yours in depth and give people a chance to get a good overview of the 66 system and talk about the Age of Legends and your other products that you have as well. So.
Brilliant. That sounds great. I managed to listen to about the first half of last time's episode as waiting. So yeah, I like the sort of feel and style of the show.
Okay, good. All right. Oh shoot. Okay, I got one more thing I need to set up here real quick. You think this is the first time I've done a show? All right.
Well, I know what it's like.
Here we go.
So I take it you record this, edit this, and then stick it out. So no one will be watching live?
Well, what ends up happening is for the video, the live version of what we're doing, we put out on our Facebook channels, and when I do our post to the website for this live version, then that goes out to the internet as well automatically, which is a nice plugin that we have from WordPress. And so people have the ability to see the video version first, and then what ends up happening is I will grab the audio from the video, and then we'll do an audio version of the show. That will be available as well. And
Yeah, that's good.
the love of all that is holy, what is going on here?
It's nice doing it from the side. I used to do lots of stuff with Indie Plus, and I do my own stuff with 66, and I'm always the guy running the show. And yeah, it's just nice to be able to sit here and watch somebody else struggle.
I accidentally closed one of my windows, and now I am struggling to get back to... Oh, that's what happened. Okay. There. Okay. There, okay. I've pulled my head thoroughly out of my hindquarters, and I can wrap this up here.
Glenn, whereabouts are you?
I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. About 2.5 hours from Brad, so.
I'm just trying to, my American geography. That's sort of like the middle, sort of north of the middle. Is that sort of about right?
Yes.
That's where I'm at, yeah.
I am about 90 miles north of Chicago.
But yeah, I'm not. I could get Chicago on a map. You know, it's got that big lake north of it. It's a bit easy.
Yep, and Milwaukee's right on that lake.
Right. It's one of those great names. You know, I have to say that a lot of American city names don't really have a lot of charm. But Milwaukee, it is one of those ones. It's just got a wonderful sound to it.
It's actually the original name is Milwaukee, which is
Algonquin.
It's Algonquin, but the full meaning is the good place in which to live along the flowing banks of the mighty river.
Well, it's a nice efficient language. You get all that
Wisconsin has a lot of cities named get their names from various native tribes that lived here and that we kicked out. So
Yeah.
we took these people and we said, well, your names are nice, but we want all your land.
Mm. Yeah, well, I'm British. I don't have a lot of room to talk about on that one.
No, you don't, but many of us don't.
Manifest destiny and all that, yeah. Not our brightest chapter in history, but... Okay. And one last thing to set. Where are you? There. Okay. Okay. I can view. Come on. So close. Come on. There we go. Okay. Oh, gosh. We've been live this whole time. There we go. Something to edit out later. I hit a wrong button. Today has just not been my day at all. Not been my day. All right, then we will start. Hello and welcome to the 32nd gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 15th of November. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure you have your dice ready while you are gathered at the meeting table. Our guest this evening is and we're already off and running. The one name that I should have gotten, because my mother's name is Chris with a K, you'd think I would have had no problem with that and stumbled over your last name. I apologize, Chris. Our guest is Chris Tregenza of 66 RPG in Nottingham, UK. Now, don't confuse them with 66 Studios, which is a gaming table like furniture company in Wisconsin. Okay, they are very different. So if you do look for them, and we'll give you the location of their Twitter and Facebook pages and their homepage, but it is 66 RPG. So don't confuse them. This is very different. We're going to be talking with Chris about his upcoming, well, actually his currently running Kickstarter for Age of Legends, which is a setting for the 66 RPG system that he has put together. So, welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
And there is a 6-hour time difference between us. It is a little past midnight in your neck of the woods, so we will make sure that we don't dilly-dally and we move forth with the show. Our second in command here is Glenn Bittner, and he is a movie reviewer. He has a show called the B-Movie Bunker, and he is the creator of the RPG Mistrunner. How are you, sir?
I am doing fine, trying not to feel guilty over our manifest destiny.
Yes, we had that discussion earlier about Wisconsin names of cities and things like that, and how we appropriated some of the native Iroquois Nation languages to name our towns while we shooed them off to the reservations. And we're not feeling very good about that bit of history, but there you have it. Then we are going to move on. We're going to take our guilt and shame and shove that down into a corner and move on to happier subjects, which, to start, will be your review for a game that was released in 2007 called Galaxy Trucker. Tell us more, Glenn.
Galaxy Trucker. All right. This game, as you said, is from 2007. The creator, whose name I always pronounce wrong, it's Vlada Chvátil, something like that, who has done another one of my favorite games called Dungeon Lords. But this one, it's 2 to 4 players. It takes about 60 minutes to play. What you are is each of you are basically the pilot of a ship, and you have to first build your ship, and then take your ship, which is composed primarily of sewer pipes, because other planets in the galaxy need sewer systems. So you build your ship out of these sewer pipes and other components so that you can weather all the various things that you will encounter in space, hopefully arriving intact with cargo and possibly other things. This game is a lot of fun. It's a tile, basically kind of a tile-laying game, where each player you have a board that gives you the template for how big your ship can possibly be. And the shipbuilding part is all real-time. You start a sand timer, and everyone, and you can only use one hand, is going to be drawing tiles out of the center to make their ship. This gets a little tricky because you have to place tiles where they line up. Different types of connectors. You have to obviously have engines facing to the back of your ship because engines to the side won't do anything. You need to have lasers to protect yourself from things that you can encounter, like pirates and meteors. So you have to make sure that your lasers are actually facing out, away from your ship. You need batteries to power things. You need crew compartments to hold your crew. You need cargo spaces to hold cargo. There will be different challenges you will face on each run you make. And you can, if you want, during the shipbuilding time, use some of your precious building time to look at the face-down cards and see what's approaching. So now if you see that there are a whole bunch of asteroids coming up, you're going to want to try to get as many lasers as you can on your ship. The other thing is that the first person who decides their ship is built takes the first player token, and so on until everyone has finished building their ship or time runs out. You then will reveal the cards that show what has happened. If you encounter aliens, or pirates, or asteroids, or maybe you get to stop somewhere and pick up some cargo, or stop at like an intergalactic junkyard and do some salvage, and maybe even add extra tiles to your ship. Then you find out who arrives first, second, third, and so on at their destination, if you arrive at all, and you score points based on when you arrived, as well as what you actually managed to bring with you. You do this for 3 rounds. Person at the end of 3 rounds with the most credits wins. What I love about this game is it creates a lot of fun discussion, particularly at the end of the shipbuilding phase. Because as you are building it, yes, you got some, Brad has some nice pictures up here. On your game board, there is a chart, or basically there are 2 rows of numbers, where when bad things happen, so asteroids will come in, and the first player will roll dice, and say an asteroid comes in column number 6. If you have a laser there, you might be able to stop that asteroid from hitting your ship. If not, it'll knock out the first section of your ship that it hits. If that happens to be the only part connecting that section of your ship to something else, you then have to decide which half of your ship you are going to keep. So it's quite interesting because it's first of all, as I said, you have different connectors and you have to play things different ways. You can, when you draw a tile, decide not to use it and put it back, at which point you put it back face up. They all start face down. But it's tricky because you're in a race against the clock because you have to make sure you get all the different modes you need. You want batteries. If you have batteries, your lasers will work. Without batteries, your lasers are just something to absorb the hits of meteors. So, like an example in the picture Brad is showing, column 8, if that took an asteroid hit from the front, it would knock out the one piece that's connecting 4 other tiles to the other part of the ship, which also contains 2 of your, well, actually 3 of your engines. So you'd be moving a lot slower when all of that goes floating off into space. And there's a lot of discussion on how ridiculous people's ship designs are. And if I'm going to recommend another reviewer as well to get a really good look at how silly this can be. There's a great group of reviewers called Shut Up and Sit Down, who are actually also based out of England. They do some great game reviews, and they have a short one of Galaxy Trucker, and they have a longer one of the Anniversary Edition, which came out, I believe, last year. So, but the game is just an absolute blast. I mean, it's the fact that you've got all this real-time stuff going on. You're trying to build your ship. It ends up being ridiculous, and I like the fact that if anything bad happens to you, you really have no one to blame but yourself because you're the person who built the ship.
Yep.
So if you end up building your ship and go, I'm done, and then realize later, oh, I have 7 lasers and I have no batteries. Well, that's great. Or, you know, oh, look at that. I have no cargo holds, so I guess I'm picking up no cargo along this journey. Or I have nowhere to put crew other than your main. Everyone starts with that little blue, your command base, your command module, your command pod starts in the center all the time. So I like it because it's very. I like games that have a bit of that real-time feel to them sometimes, where you've got that clock counting down. Because the thing I hate most in gaming, above all other things, other than cheaters, is the analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Of the, all right, I'm now going to spend 18 minutes to figure out every possible combination this Carcassonne tile can fit on the board, while mentally tallying all the possible points I can get in each one. And I'm just like, no, that's not. Stop. I just want. This is a 45-minute game, and your turns are taking 20 minutes apiece. So, that's one of the things I love about this game is just that kind of craziness and the fact that it's funny to see the different designs that come out, and then also realizing, especially if you looked ahead and said, "There's lots of asteroids," and I didn't find any lasers to put on my ship, so I hope that I just at least managed to save 1 engine. So I can finish the journey. That's all. So, and I have played games where 3-player game where no one had any engines left or pretty much any ship left at all because we all designed our ships really poorly and things just kept getting knocked off and be like, look at that, that's one hit. That makes me lose 5 tiles because I'm an idiot shipbuilder.
See, I thought you were going to mention black crayon. Obviously, there are no crayons used in this game. Someday we'll have to tell the story of Pat Rothfuss, a rail builder game, and how he's no longer allowed to use a black crayon when playing.
Rail builder games. You know, there's a long time for turns game.
Yes. Okay.
And for those who are interested, this one retails around $75.
Oh, wow.
It's a big box. It's a very big box.
Okay. And as I had seen earlier, 2 to 4 players.
Correct.
Okay. And it's 10 and up, and it's an hour to play, which
roughly,
that's pretty cool. And it just sounds like a whole lot of fun.
It is.
A good family game night thing, as long as your family is up to 4 people. Then I could see there being fighting with the kids.
Or, you know, you just pick favorites amongst your children and have one of them sit in a corner.
The therapy bills. Yes. Good time. Chris, we've only just met you. Obviously, you're an RPGer. Would you play a board game like this?
Yes, I have a small palette of board games because we have a regular Thursday night session. You know, it's round at my house. So, but every now and again, one of the players can't make it, and so we don't play a regular game. We'll quite often just drop in a board game. And at the moment, because this only happens like once every couple of months, we have one game on the go generally. At the moment, it's pandemic, and we're absolutely loving it. I mean, it is just such a fantastic game. It's got an old game called Ursup, which is where you amoeba and you evolve. It's a German game originally, but probably about 10, 12 years ago it probably came out. But it's a wonderfully silly game where you sort of choose evolutionary traits, like you can choose to drift with the currents, or you can choose to be a predator and things like that. And it's constantly changing. Very simple mechanics, but always gives like Pandemic, always gives a different result.
Sure.
So we generally have like 1 or 2 on the go, which we're playing. But I'm not a board game freak by any stretch of the imagination.
And that's okay too. That's okay too. And yeah, I had to take this. I'm teaching in the evenings at a local technical college. So I had to take it'll be about 6 months by the time we're done here off from our RPG group that we normally played on Monday nights. So I think after I'm done teaching this semester, I'll be taking the next one off and playing games again, which will be nice. I kind of miss that. But yes, we would do a pickup game of something. Whether it would be like Wings of War. I don't know if you're familiar with Wings of War.
I know it, yes. Yeah.
Or, other board games. The person's house that we play at, he's got a huge room full of board games as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Conan one, I can't remember what that was called. It might just be called Conan. That one we really enjoy because we're quite a few of us are Conan fans around the table.
Sure.
And Arkham Asylum, I think, which personally I don't get on with that one. It's just too complicated. I just find it too much hard work. I like my board games nice and simple, fast to play. I like what you're saying about the spaceship game. Is that it goes through quickly. The real time forces people to have a turn, and because that's what I do find that annoying.
No, absolutely. My general rule is if a game says it's going to take more than 2 to 3 hours, I'm out. I have no interest. All right. Thank you, Glenn. We are going to move on to a bit of news that caught my attention. And normally we we let Ryan Murphy do the computer game stuff, but this really caught my eye, and I have a feeling that he's going to talk about it too, but what the heck. J.J. Abrams, I think we may have heard about this this person who has made some films and some TV shows that we like. He is going to be making an espionage RPG video game, which I thought was very interesting. That game is called Spyjinx. Now, he's kind of known for his spy show that he did called Alias with Jennifer Garner, and his Bad Robot team is joining forces with Chair, I like that, Chair is the group's name, to make the game Spyjinx. The Unreal 4 engine-powered experience is described on the official site as a unique mix of action, strategy gameplay, dynamic world building, and RPG character development, all set in a thrilling, treacherous world of espionage. If you're curious about this content, you can sign up for the beta right now on the website. The game is expected to hit PC and mobile, that's interesting, in 2016. And let's see, Abrams and Donald Mustard were quoted as saying, we're going to focus more on Abrams. Abrams said, I feel it's a natural progression from what we've been doing. We really wanted to expand into this area of entertainment. Abrams went on to say that he understands the history between Hollywood and the video game industry has not always been the best, and that Spyjinx came from a natural collaboration between the two groups instead of one forcing an idea on the other. The story that I found is from geek.com, and we'll have a link in the show notes to have you look. I only grabbed sections of the story, but they have more information at the at geek.com. So, Abrams has done some pretty good work. The Alias, well, in my opinion, the first 2 to 3 seasons were really good. After that, I checked out. I really loved the first Star Trek film that he did, and everything that he's been doing with Star Wars has been really fascinating. We'll see what actually happens with the actual film once it's released in, oh gosh, in about a month now, isn't it? We're heading up to that time period. What do you guys think about J.J. Abrams and getting into gaming?
Well, I think he's chosen a god-awful name. I mean, Spyjinx. I mean, it's appalling. I mean, it sounds like your cheesiest phone game ever. You know, so I don't know, but yeah, he's done such great stuff, and I think it's going to a lot depend on how involved he is. Is he just a name on this product, or is he actually, you know, really involved in sort of like the story and everything? But yeah, it's certainly interesting to see him moving into this.
I would agree with Chris that the name is not a good. If you told me there was a game called Spyjinx, I would think this is something for my 5-year-old to play. It sounds like the name sounds like a little kid's game, or a bad movie starring the Paul Blart guy or something. Paul Blart Mall Cop in Spyjinx.
Kevin James?
Kevin James, that's it.
You know, looking, and I've got this shared on the video version of the show here. It reminds me of, shoot, what was the PC game?
You got to give me more than just PC game, Brad.
Shoot.
Because right now, to me, that means Fallout.
Yeah. There's just been a couple. It was a kind of a parody. It was a spy-based game. It was like tongue-in-cheek James Bond. If you did the story play, the main character was a female. It was done in kind of the 60s James Bond style, but you had like a perfume that could knock out people. Gosh darn it.
I think I know what you're thinking of, and I cannot think of
No
the
One
name.
Lives Forever. That's what it was.
Yep.
I'm going to do a screen share so people don't think I'm absolutely insane here. Yeah, it was a game from 2000. Yes, the operative. No One Lives Forever. And we had a coworker who had a massive in-house gaming system where he had 10 computers that were all linked together, and we would do massive PvPs in his basement. And this was one of them that, gosh, we played this for hours. It was just ridiculous, the amount of fun that you could have and the interactivity between the different types of. They had 3 different lipsticks. One was explosive, one was a knockout, and it was just, and the whole story. Harm was the name of the organization, kind of like Spectre. I mean, that whole vibe to it was just very tongue-in-cheek and very funny. So I'm kind of wondering, to make a long story short, looking at their website for Spyjinx, looking at the silhouettes that they have, I'm kind of wondering if they're not shooting for something not unlike that.
Maybe.
So I guess time will tell as we move forward. I'm going to jump over to their Facebook page to see if they have any other bits right now, but not looking like they have much to give at this point. So, well. We'll keep an eye on this. I'm sure Ryan Murphy will be talking about this for up until the point where it's released, and that's later in 2016. So we'll have more information then, I guess. Have you guys ever played No One Lives Forever, or am I completely out in left field by myself on that?
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
Chris?
No, that one's passed me by completely.
and that's all right. It was like I said, it was a game. Actually, it seemed to be more fun if you did PvP, playing against other people. But yeah, it was a good time. All right. On that note, since we did mention Ryan Murphy, like I said before, he contributes more computer and console game news for us, and he has another report for us. So here you go, Ryan. Take it away. All right, thanks, Ryan. We're going to move on to our Kickstarter Spotlight, and last week Glenn brought the foam LED saber. To be clear, it is not a lightsaber. It is an LED saber. Was his Kickstarter pick last week. How are they doing, Glenn?
They are doing swimmingly. They were looking for $38,259. And they are currently at $72,425 with a little over 2 weeks to go still.
Nice.
That's with 185 backers. And a big reason why there's so few backers is because if you want anything of any substance, you're looking at a couple $100.
Yeah.
But if you really have been jonesing for a lightsaber that lights up that you can hit people with, maybe $275 isn't the worst way, or sorry, $210 isn't the worst way you can spend your money. $275 for those of you who live in Canada.
All right.
So yeah, it's getting made.
It is a go. So if you are I wonder if they must have rules for some kind of Star Wars LARP or something like that. Or if you enjoy or have a Halloween costume in which you are a Jedi, that's awesome. That would work for you. And they also offer a wide variety of other foam weapons. But this is their Kickstarter to start their line of the LED sabers. So Calamisil is the name of the company. So if you're looking for foam weapons, you might want to give them a look-see. Well, our Kickstarter that we're going to talk about this week, and part of the reason why Chris is here to speak with us, is Chris approached me, and I watched the video for this on the Kickstarter. And I mentioned this on Twitter. I am a sucker for Greek mythology. Absolute sucker. That was... My mom got me interested in mythology. I might even still have her copy of Bullfinch's Mythology. I think I do. That was hers. So I really loved the stories from Greek mythology. And here, Chris and his group at 66 RPG have put together a setting for their 66 RPG core system. And that setting is called Age of Legends Epic Adventures. Small rules, I like that. Small rules, tabletop RPG. I encourage you, and we'll have the link in the show notes, and also you can just look them up on Kickstarter, look for Age of Legends, and watch the video. You will not be disappointed. If you have ever had the opportunity to see any of the artwork on Greek vases or other... trying to think of other artwork on walls or things like that. It really reminded me of that style, and they really kept that whole style throughout this video, and it was a great explanation of what the system is about. And since we don't have the ability to share that audio from the video, and we have you here, Chris, why don't you give us some details on Age of Legends?
Can I just make one comment about the video first?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I love the fact that you're basically starting off by telling an epic tale. And what a lot of Kickstarters try to do this, and a lot fail, is I'm listening to them like, hey, they got someone who actually sounds epic.
Yes.
And then I said, oh, well, they cheated, they're British. It's just kind of built in.
I can assure you we don't all sound as good.
No, but
but yeah, we have an unnatural advantage. We just sound superior to Americans. We can't help it.
And God bless you, because that it's worked well for you.
Yeah, because the only epic voice we have in America is the "In a World,"
yeah.
And that only works for movies. Only works for bad movies with Tom Cruise.
I don't know. I mean, if I could, I would have got Morgan Freeman to do the voiceover. He would have made it work.
Yes, absolutely. Please tell us more about the Age of Legends setting for the 66 RPG system.
Well, it's ancient Greece reimagined. We decided not to go down the route of just parroting all the classic, Hercules and stuff like that legends, because that's been done before. And also, it has to be said that they come with a lot of baggage. The ancient Greek society isn't our society, and there's aspects in that which we weren't comfortable with. So we reinvented it. We've set it sort of like it's 280 BC, so it's about 60 years after the 300 Spartans event, and it's sort of one of the most dynamic periods of Greek history. You've just got the Romans sort of starting to nibbling at the edges, coming in. You've still got the Persian threat on one side. And what we said, what happened if the gods came back and started meddling in the world? All these Olympic gods, Ares and Zeus, and all their petty rivalries and bickering and things like that, they've come back into the world and they've started picking mortal champions, which is what the player characters are. They're chosen by the gods who come down and basically say, you're going to be my champion. And you don't really have a choice because it's a god, And they need these champions because the Titans who are imprisoned in Tartarus are starting to break free, and they've got their own agents, their own champions, effectively. So you've got these mortal agents working for the Titans, and the player characters who are the champions of the gods, and they're meant to sort of stop the agents. But of course, actually what mostly happens is they're meddling, the gods are meddling, but people that they're actually meant to be working for are actually the biggest danger to the characters. And then, of course, we've got all the legendary monsters. We've got minotaurs and sphinxes and centaurs and, everything from Greek mythology we could pluck out of, and we put them all in this big mix. And then you've got all the city-states of Greece with their polis and politics. You've got Athens, which is democratic at this point. You've got Sparta, which has just been defeated by its slaves. So there's an awful lot going on because we wanted to give GMs a setting where it wasn't limited. It wasn't just like, oh, go down a dungeon, or oh, you're going to fight a dragon. If you want to make it a really complicated political game, you've got all the elements to do that. If you want to go out and hit big monsters with swords, you can do that. And the Greek mythology is so rich. We can just pick and choose the ideas we want to do, retell some of the legends in a more sort of acceptable way or more modern way, and just create a big melting pot where you can go and be Jason of the Argonauts, basically. That was pretty much our thing. That classic Ray Harryhausen version of Jason of the Argonauts. Skeleton Warriors. The lot. That's what we were after.
Okay, and watching that video, it really sounds like you guys got a great handle on everything, and you did allow us to take a sneak peek of what you have so far, and it looks great. Looks
Thank
great.
You. Yeah,
I love that you went with the classic Greek style of art.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the things I do in the whole 66 design, the appeal is I'm sort of the same age group as you, started playing in the early 80s, we've been through so much artwork, and we've seen it progress from fairly crappy line drawings to these beautiful, detailed illustrations. And quite frankly, I'm sick of that. If I see one more RPG book which is styled to look like a spell book or an ancient tome, I would just scream. For Christ's sake, be original. So I like trying to do something very different with our artwork. We use a lot of white space. We use photographs and things like that to give it a very different feel. So when we came to do Age of Legends, it was what artwork we're going to use to get the style, and we played with Renaissance paintings and things like that, and they're obviously fantastic artwork, but we couldn't really get them to fit in. And I thought, Greek pottery. That's a very simple style, which means we don't have to pay the artist very much to produce a lot of artwork. So it captures the spirit of what we want. It's it fits historically with the sort of setting, and it's from a publisher's point of view, it's a very good way of doing it because it meant we could do the video with the artwork and all the rest of it. So yeah, it just all came together. It just had to be that Greek pottery style.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy for you guys. It looks like you are over $1,000 over what you were looking to get.
That's why we funded in just about a day. I'd love to say we funded in under a day, but it was actually about 26 and a half hours.
Well, still, that's pretty darn respectable.
Yeah, I was very pleased with that. We've got through our first stretch goal. When was that? Knocked that off on Friday, a couple of days ago, and we're halfway through our second stretch goal. So yes, very pleased. We're going to be able to deliver the book we want to deliver, which is, as a writer, as a publisher, you want to get the book out as best you can, and the support we've had is going to allow us to do that.
Absolutely, and I definitely plunked my money down to back it because it looked wonderful, and I really wanted to get into a new system. The other thing too that I thought was wonderful is and I have not seen this listed for another, and maybe it has been done before, but the ones that I've looked at have not mentioned that they have licensing for you to share the content legally. You actually have a license set in there for you to, if you're the game master, you can share the book with somebody so that they can look through the materials digitally, which I think is really progressive. I'm trying to think of some of the other folks that we've had on the show where that, even though I've backed their products, they did not specifically mention a digital license for you to be able to share that, and I thought that was wonderful that you took that step.
Like most things we do, it's a combination of a sort of a philosophy and practicality. Me and a lot of the other writers, we're very much in a sort of Creative Commons, open source, all that sort of thing, that community effort where you sort of, you pay it forward. You take what other people have created and you add your own bit and you make it available to other people. So going Creative Commons with all our stuff was, was philosophically right, but also the practical fact is that people will share PDFs. It happens. I mean, why people try to stop it? And we had a few years ago, we had the whole thing about the books being taken down from RPG now, the D&D books being taken down because they're being copied. And I was just sitting there thinking, why? People who have the PDF we're never going to buy your product anyway, or now they've got the PDF, we'll go and buy one of your future products, or buy a print copy of the PDF they've got, or whatever it is. Giving away the PDF, saying to people, look, take it, share it with your fellow gamers, give it to whoever you like, is a way for us to spread the game. And we want people to play the game. It's not a game to sit on a shelf. It's a game to be played. So get out there, copy our PDFs, give them to people. You can edit them, you can sell them, you can do what you like with them as long as you stick to the fairly simple Creative Commons license, which is, you've got to say it's by 66 on the relative authors, and you've got to also share it under the Creative Commons. So anything you do with our stuff also has to go out under Creative Commons so other people can use your input. And we all get richer by that, by sharing our culture.
Oh, absolutely, and I applaud you and your company for taking that approach. It's very practical in this day and age. I mean, in all honesty, that's just the truth of where we've gone with e-readers and with everything else. If you have the capability to turn something into a PDF, it's most likely going to be shared. And you've built that into your philosophy, into your company, and I applaud you and your team for having that view, for being practical and living in the now, where a lot of companies don't. So, kudos to you and your team. So let's see. Like we normally talk about, now we're going to do a pounds and U.S. dollars here. If you do a pledge of £10 or about $15 U.S., you can get a PDF edition of Age of Legends. Now, to be clear, that this is the setting for the system. This doesn't come with the core rules, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So you will be getting a setting for the 66 RPG system. So you would need to invest in getting the core system to have the full rule set, but this is in addition to that. And you get 128 full-color pages of the gods, ancient Greek society, monsters, character paths, and equipment. So everything to layer onto the 66 system to play in this particular world. And I like this. Every 66 PDF comes with the living document promise, membership of the 66 online, and is under the Creative Commons, so you can legally share this with your friends. And that was, as soon as I read that line, I'm like, I'm going to give you my money right now. that was wonderful. You had me with the video and that line right there. Let's see, the level that I ended up donating at was at the £14 or the $22 US. Everything you need to play PDF version, which gets you the Age of Legends plus the core PDF. So for only a slightly larger investment, you get the core, everything that you need to run the game, and the system setting for Age of Legends. So
yeah, that's the level which, if you've never heard of 66 before, which, and to be honest, we're a small company, you probably haven't, and you're interested in this, back at the £14, $22 mark, and you get this whole setting and you get the core rules. The core rules already exist. We did a Kickstarter 2 years ago for that edition of the rules. So the moment you back, I'll email you and you'll get the PDF of the core rules. You will also get a draft PDF of the Age of Legends, because it's already written. We've already written everything, including the stretch goals. So we've done a very rough layout. Basically, we put the words on the page, and that's about it. But it's there. You can read it. You can play the game and work around the typos. It's
Sure.
at the draft stage. So yeah, that £14 mark, $22 is a sort of a great. If you not, you don't have to invest a lot, and it will get you everything you need to play. Or I actually think it's the £32 or $48-ish level where you get the print editions of the equivalent, where you get the print edition of the Age of Legends and the print edition of the core rules.
And I was just at unfortunately, we do have a local game store, but it's the service is terrible. We were at another big box store, which I won't name, and the core for a particular system that we were looking at was $50 for just the core book, not anything else. And looking at your $49 US or 32 pounds. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Where was I at? Yeah, there we go. You get the full print edition, and you get the full print edition of the setting for Age of Legends. And let's see.
And at that level, you also get because 66 RPG is a generic system. It's designed to work in any setting, and
Yep.
we have some existing adventures which we did in our last Kickstarter. So at certain levels, you'll get the PDFs of some of our adventures, or the print editions of some of our adventures as well. So you can play Age of Legends, or you can play, I think in Kickstarter we've got Dungeon of Demon Strata, which is it's a modern take on a dungeon crawl, effectively. We've got Mince Pies and Murder, which is a 1920s whodunit, and we have The Road to Petra, which is modern horror, and it's entirely combat-free. It's all about the investigation of the horror and nothing about actually fighting monsters. So 3 very different adventures to complement the Age of Legends. So, and also to demonstrate just the variety of things you can do with the 66 system.
Yeah, it looks like from what I've seen of the 66 system, the way you've constructed it is you as a game master could actually sit down and plan out a whole genre essentially, because you've got that stripped down generic set of rules, and you can just build on top of that. And looking at some of your other actually, we'll save this for the interview portion, because the more I dug into 66, the more I really liked it, and I want to talk about your other products that you have available in your store as well. But yeah, I can't recommend this enough. The video really sold it to me, and the whole philosophy behind how you have constructed everything here for what you're doing is just highly laudable, and I was very happy to give you my money.
I was very happy to take it.
And to help back you guys make something wonderful, and hopefully you continue to have that opportunity to make more of these wonderful game settings. So please, Age of Legends, check it out on Kickstarter. And I don't think that you'll be disappointed. And please watch the video. Please watch the video. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We're going to segue now into the actual discussion of 66. And what I really like to do is we kind of touched basically on the core rules. We've talked a lot about the setting of Age of Legends, but please tell everybody about how the 66 core system works, basically.
There's 2 key elements to the 66 system. Everything in the system comes down to this desire. I wanted a game which was quick to learn, because I'm old, I don't have the time to learn stuff. I don't have a brain to learn stuff anymore, if I'm absolutely honest. I wanted things like character sheets which had everything you needed to know printed on them, not like Pathfinder where you need 60 books to play a standard character class, and I wanted something flexible, because I wanted to have one game system which I could apply to lots of different genres. So in order to get this to work, I needed a very simple mechanic which gave me a lot of flexibility, and gave GMs a lot of flexibility so they can mix in their own stuff. And the two sort of central ideas is potential and advantages. Now, potential controls how much you can do, and advantages control what you can do. Potential is just like a resource. You spend potential and basically enable you to use advantages. You get a certain amount of potential, you spend it, you can recoup it at a certain rate. And what that allows you to do as a player is you can, in your turn, you could have like one massive action where you spend all your potential, to do that mighty thwack into the monster and take it down. Or you could do maybe 5 or 6 little things, move, have a stab, move again, pick lock, whatever it is you're doing. So you get lots of little actions all in your turn. But if you spend potential, you don't have it in the future if you've spent it. That's the nature of these things. And you need potential for everything, including defending yourself. So if you do go for that mighty chop, you better make sure it works, because otherwise you're standing there with your pants down, and and the monster's getting the lube out. You've got that player. You can manage your risks to a certain extent by So if you're a really cautious player, you only do like a couple of little things every action, so you sort of stay at the same level of potential, and so you've got something if you get attacked. If you're the rash and charge in, you can do that and take the consequences. So it gives you control as a player. The other side of that is your advantages, which is, as I say, what you can do. So advantages will sort of fall in different categories. So things like strength, we call brawn generally. So brawn, manual dexterity, wisdom, that sort of thing. They're all different advantages. Your equipment are advantages, so your sword, your gun. You also have skill advantages, so your weapon expertise or your marksmanship or whatever else. So you have your character will generally start with about 15 of these advantages. And the secret of it is that you don't just use an advantage. What you do is combine advantages. So if you want to kill that orc, you use your sword advantage and your brawn advantage, and maybe you've got a bit of potential to spare, you put in your weapon skill in there. So you combine those 3 advantages. Okay. You get the dice value from each advantage and possibly any special effects they have.
Sure.
So you can mix and match any advantages. There's no rules at all to say which advantages work with which other advantages. That is left entirely to the player and the group to decide. So if I'm hitting that orc, and I say I'm using my brawn and I'm using my sword, that's a combination which makes sense to everybody. If I say, right, I'm going to do some first aid with my brawn and my sword, people are going to go, hang on, that makes no sense at all. And it's up to the group to say, to sort of set the tone. You can say, because if you want to be silly and allow things, and the group wants to have a good laugh and a giggle, you can take it silly. If you want to make it really gritty and realistic, the group can just say, well, that combination doesn't work. So the game adapts to a certain extent to the group style of play. It allows players to be imaginative about how they combine different skills. Because, maybe you might have some very mundane skill like white-collar worker, but actually be able to use that to bluff your way into a building, because, I'm a white-collar worker, I will just use my knowledge of timesheets or clocking in or whatever it is to get yourself in, and it gives you that sort of inventiveness. But also that whole, what we call blagging. which is when you come up with something which is just on the borderline of ridiculous, and you're just pushing the envelope, and the sort of thing you can get away with once or twice, but if you try it with every action, the group won't let you. But everybody appreciates a good blag, a good something slightly silly, something slightly ridiculous, but it makes the game fun. So therefore, you let it go forward. So there you have it, the potential which allows you to do how much you can do, which is like a bit of a resource management mechanic, and advantages, which is all about thinking how can I combine these different elements of my character to do what I want to do with my character.
Nice. Okay. No, that sounds pretty straightforward, and sounds like a very intriguing mechanic that you put together for that. We've spoken with other indie game companies, and it's always interesting to hear a little bit about the history and how they put their teams together. So please tell us a little bit about some of the history of 66.
We started out, oddly enough, doing metal miniatures, because one of my first night gamers is a keen figure painter and got into casting his own figures and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So he'd sort of like designed this range with no real particular purpose. He just made them for fun. And then I was sort of thinking about setting up a role-playing website. So we sort of combined our efforts and we started selling figures. And then I thought, well, I could write an adventure which uses all these figures, and then that sort of goes with that. And then after a while, we sort of dropped the figures, and I thought, well, I could just do a game system. We've all got that itch. No one who's ever sat down and played a role-playing game hasn't thought, I could change those rules or do my own thing and stuff like that. So I wrote the 66 RPG. And so that sort of evolved, and along the way, we picked up people because we have an open door policy. So if you want to come and write for us, just contact me and say, look, I've got this idea, what do we do? And we try to mentor and support each other. So there's sort of a detailed editorial process. We do brainstorming sessions. We all give feedback to each other. If you look at our YouTube channel, you'll find a whole lot of brainstorming sessions and business meetings and everything like that. We all do it online, in public. And if you want to get involved, and you can be involved at just sort of making a comment on the post, giving your feedback and your thoughts on a rule or something like that, or you can turn up and write a whole 200-page setting if you want. And that's exactly what James and Mark did, who are the authors of Angel Legends. We were at a gaming convention. They sat in on one of our games. We got talking, and the idea of doing Ancient Greece came out of that, and that was 4 years ago. It took 4 years to develop this book, an awful lot of work, but it's sort of a good example of how the 66 philosophy of get people involved at whatever level suits them.
Oh, that's very cool. I like the sound of the company culture there. I really enjoy that. Have you seen like online communities? Because let me preface this. You guys have, you're following Creative Commons. You are really looking to gather and also share what you put together. Have you seen online communities come together around 66 and perhaps propose settings or, create fiction based on some of your settings or anything like that?
We have a G+ community. I spend a lot of time, my social media of choice is G+.
Okay.
And we're sort of like the core people are sort of like on there. And yeah, we've got a cluster of sort of very keen GMs who are running their own campaigns, and they'll sort of float ideas after they'll have that commentary back. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we're a massive company, It's sort of like, at the end of the Kickstarter, we have 200 backers. We've done really well. So it's small, but it has that advantage of being small in that you know each other, and a small number of people can produce more than a larger gaggle, or something better quality, generally speaking, because you've got that time to give individual feedback and discuss things.
Sure. Okay. What specific? Well, you kind of talked a little bit about my next question really that I'm looking at here that I started to go into is kind of moot because you've covered that point. So we're going to skip on to the next question. I don't want to give anything away because when you gave us the opportunity to look at a copy of Age of Legends, which you have put together right now, the rough draft, I noticed a couple of other things in there, and is it too early? Because one of them really got me excited. What other upcoming settings are you guys looking to put together for 66?
We have in development 66 Lovecraft. It's sort of working name. It has to be said that that's on a slight hiatus at the moment because it's a husband and wife team.
Okay.
Pat King, who is the writer, is doing the setting, and Emily is his wife, who's the artist. And they had a baby in August, and it was their first baby, and so you can imagine from sort of like some back into about April, May, when it sort of started getting serious.
Yeah.
I figured that the project's on hold for another 6 months until they sort of like get their lives back on together. But Pat, what we're trying to do with Lovecraft is to go back to the source. So we've picked 10 stories we think are good examples of Lovecraft, and we're going to bundle those with the actual game because they're all public domain now. And we're basing the characters and the concepts we get in the game from those stories, and we're really going back to that grassroots of the core of Lovecraft, which is the unspoken horror, the hidden horror. It's not about fighting Cthulhu with a machine gun.
Yeah.
It's about walking around woods where nothing happens until you're dead.
No, I saw that and I was just like, take my money now, because I was so excited to see that, and I wanted to say something, but I wasn't sure if it was too soon to talk about it. But that looks like a really, really cool setting. What settings would you like to see? I mean, if I know that the Lovecraft is on hiatus and you're finishing up this one, what is your dream setting that you would want to release next?
The most likely one to come next is the one I'm personally going to work on is most likely going to be 66 Magic, which is going to be our fantasy setting. I've got some ideas to do with sort of like finding a lot of fantasy stuff. It's pictures of orcs and pictures of the races, and I'm actually interested in sort of landscapes, and there's a lot of good landscape art, classic landscape art, which can easily be a fantasy world. And so I sort of got this project which I sort of started nibbling around on the edges. Well, I'll take a painting, a classical painting, and I'll write a fantasy background. So, a spur of rock in a nice landscape actually will have a backstory about how this is significant to the goblin tribes, or tranquil lakeside will actually be the meeting point for an annual festival, and so about the world and about the sort of what it looks like without going into here are dwarfs, they have beards, they have this, that, and the other. That's sort of like all the standard tropes. I want to sort of like have a much richer world in the background and let the players decide, well, what are dwarves are like, what are orcs are like, what are things, because I like, the idea that we get away from some of these stereotypes that all orcs are bad and things like that. If someone wants to play an orc, you can play an orc. Why not?
Sure.
So that's sort of like that's when I started 66. That's sort of like I always wanted to do because I'm a big fantasy guy. But the setting, which I think probably 66 RPG, the system lends itself best to is superheroes.
Okay.
Because if you think about how the game works in terms of like you have advantages and you mix them together, constantly in superhero comics you have variants on the hero's powers. Suddenly Cyclops will be able to do a pinpoint beam, or to send it extra far, or suddenly Invisible will be able to do something special with her. Instead of just having it being invisible, she'll suddenly develop it into a force field. And those sorts of changes to a character as they sort of add, as in the comics, the writers sort of say, oh, what do we need the character to do this week? Oh, that's what her superpowers can do. Mimic that in the game by letting the players morph and change their powers as they go along. So yeah, fantasy and superheroes are the two which always have been there, but have never actually quite got into sort of like a production, so to speak.
Okay, very cool. And you know, and as you mentioned, it takes a good long time to get a setting fully tested and put together. So these are awesome long range plans that you guys have to, you know, keep the system going, keep it fresh, and keep adding new, different layers to the core system of 66, and that's really cool. And quite honestly, this is an open invitation. When you have a new product that you have to talk about, I definitely would love to have you come back on and talk about that, Chris. So.
Oh, we certainly will. You know, I will do anything for publicity.
And we'll do anything for guests. So we'll help each other, Chris.
A match made in heaven.
Well, thank you very much for talking about 66. And when we get to the close of the show, we'll give you a chance to. We'll talk about all the different places and to clarify where people can find you on Facebook, YouTube, Google+, wherever. So we'll come back to that in just a second. But we are going to start to wrap things up. We're going to start with Hello, My Name Is. And this is your opportunity, you the listener, to tell us about your favorite character that you've played. Whether it's something that you have played, I guess for clarification, or something you are currently playing. Maybe you're playing a 66 game and you've created your own setting. What is that character? What is that character's name? What about them is really cool? And we have a section on galacticnetcasts.com, and you click to the show Adventure Party, and we have a nice big link there for you to click for Hello, My Name Is. And we've got a short form for you to fill out. And yes, we do ask for your email address. No, I don't have a mailing list. I don't want to do that. That's horrible. I don't want to spam you. I have no interest in that either. We only ask for that information so that we can send you a certificate for participation, thanking you for taking the time to fill out that form, and in exchange, then you can have something that you can frame and put on your wall if you so choose, or put a thumbtack through and just stick to your wall. Whichever. It's a thank you gift from us to you for taking the time to share that information about your character with Hello, My Name Is. You can find out more about Adventure Party. You can go to the shortened form now, which is gncasts.com. And you can find all of our social media outlets. We are on Facebook. We are on more actively Facebook and Twitter. But if you go to gncasts.com, you can find the links to all of our social outlets, including YouTube, where you can see the show recorded live. When we do our show, typically Sunday nights, sometimes Saturdays. The time always fluctuates, so just keep an eye out on Facebook and Twitter, and that's where we seem to have that information the most prominently. If you're using iTunes or Stitcher to listen to the audio versions of the show, if you can take a moment to give us a review or some feedback, that would be awesome. On iTunes, they have a 1 to 5 star rating system. Give us the number of stars you think the show is worthy of. And then if you give us a 2-star review, just let us know. What can we do a little bit better? Or if you give us a 5-star review, what are the things that we're doing really right? And let us know. We'd like to do more of the good stuff and phase out any of the stuff that is not so good. So help us make this a better show. We'd appreciate you taking the time to do that. If you use Stitcher, they have a thumbs up or thumbs down system for rating. That's pretty straightforward. A little black and white, but you know what? If you give us type up a little review of why you gave us a thumbs up or thumbs down, that would be extremely helpful. You can also email us by going to emailing us at galacticnetcasts@gmail.com, or you can call or text 805-328 3966. Again, 805-328-3966, and you can leave a voice or text message at that number. You can also go to gncasts.com, and on the lower left you will see a button for leave a message. And if you have a microphone attached to your computer, you can leave us a message directly on the website. We have a cool plugin for our WordPress website that converts that to an MP3 and shoots us an email. And then we can listen to what you have to say, play it back on the show, and talk about your particular feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Chris, where can people go to find out more about you and 66RPG?
Well, best starting place at the moment is our Kickstarter page, because obviously that's written for a very wide audience. It's a great starting point. So yeah, get to Kickstarter, Age of Legends in the search box, you'll find us. So that's a great starting point. Also, our website, 66rpg.com, nice and easy to remember. And you'll be able to find us, you'll be able to find the blog. All our books are also online in our wiki, because something we didn't get onto is that we use a wiki to produce our books. So everything gets entered on the wiki, and then it goes out to layout software. But everything on the wiki is free to read, so you can actually get out there and start reading Age of Legends or the core rules or how far we've got on 66 Lovecraft right now, and it's there for you to see.
That's very cool. And again, I want to clarify, because I made that mistake originally. It's not 66 Studios. That is a furniture company in Wisconsin that actually makes gaming furniture. They make gaming tables for RPG and poker and things like that. This is 66 RPG, and you can find them on Facebook looking for 66 Fireball. And,
yes.
And on Twitter as well, 66 Fireball. So don't make the mistake I did, folks. Look for them at 66 Fireball on Facebook and Twitter. And your web address is
66rpg.com. Though 66fireball.com will also get to us. 66 Fireball was the original name, and when we did the system, we sort of migrated. So yes, generally, yeah, just Google for 66RPG or 66 Fireball, and you will find me.
Okay, perfect. So just want to make sure that people are finding the right place to go to find you and your wares. So, Glenn, again, you join me despite the fact that some days I can't talk to save my life. Where can people find out more about what you do as a movie reviewer and Mist Runner?
You can find a bunch of stuff on Facebook. Both just follow me or Mist Runner on Facebook, Naked Hobo Productions, B-Movie Bunker. Same thing on YouTube, the B-Movie Bunker at Naked Hobo Productions. Follow me on Twitter at Naked Hobo.
It's always makes me laugh. Naked Hobo, yes, absolutely. Thank you again, Chris, for joining us at this late hour in the UK. I know it's about 1:30 in the morning there. So thank you very much for staying up late to record the show with us. I really appreciate it, and it was wonderful to meet you and talk about 66 RPG.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying
pleasure.
And yes, again, we have an open invite to you, Chris. We would love to promote more of your stuff as it comes out, because the whole philosophy of your company is wonderful, and we really want to see you guys succeed, and if we can help in any way, shape, or form, we would love to do so.
Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. You know, anyone who's small press, podcast, whatever, we all know that publicity is like gold dust. So yeah, our policy is like reach out to as many people, help as many people, and karma will come around and help us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for joining us at the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.